Welcome to Cycle Breakers and Moneymakers, a podcast for women of color and first gen who are breaking generational cycles and glass ceilings by going places no one before them has ever gone. I'm your host, leadership coach, and eldest daughter of immigrants, Mariela De La Mora. I left a 16-year marketing career to create a multiple six-figure-a-year coaching business as a single mom. Each week, you'll learn how to build unshakable self-trust, become in demand, lead with confidence, and make more money by being more of who you are. Hey, y'all. Okay, it has been a wild week. Before we get into this episode, I just have to tell you, because this is like for reals, like behind the scenes of running a business and being a single parent and serving my clients and working through all the healing and all the things, because it's been wild. So just to give you a little behind the scenes on since the last episode, because the last episode I recorded it in Puerto Vallarta. I was at a girls' trip. We were staying at my friend Erica's house in Mexico, and it was just so amazing and everything I needed, and still was supporting clients that week. And it's so funny because I don't think I realized I was getting rest in advance for what I was going to come back to, because my daughter got sick. Wednesday night, we were at dinner and my dad sent me a message and he was like, "Does Adriana nap? Like usually?" And I was like, literally never, like not since she was like 3.5, 4, and she was in preschool. And he's like, "Yeah, she says she had a headache and she is taking a nap right now." And I was like, "Oh no, she is sick." Instantly, I was like, my kid is lit. Like my kid will be the last person at the party. Like she has FOMO. She will not tap out. That girl is wild. And so she did. She got sick and I flew back on Friday. They picked me up from the airport. I touched her face. It was hot. I was like, "Oh my God, you guys, like, have you taken her temperature?" It's like, and we went home, I took it and I was like, it's 104.2 or something. So that began the next week of her having this freaking fever. It finally went away today, but that also meant she didn't go to school. Like second grade started on Monday. It's now Friday. I'm recording this. She missed her whole first week of second grade. I have been working, having her home with me. She wants to be with me all the time. When I go upstairs, she's like, "Mommy, where are you going? I don't want you to leave me here." And so there's been times I've been like recording, or I've been coaching and she's been here in the room. I wear headphones in case my clients cuss or something. You know what I mean? So it's just been wild. It's been wild. She's been coughing, all that. But I made it through the week, coached my clients. Everything's fine. I didn't have to cancel anything. She's cleared to go to school on Monday. And oh my God, my favorite part. I'm so, I feel like I would have lost my shit. For those of you who don't know, I live in a condo in a hill in San Francisco, and it overlooks the entire city. It's stunning. Like when I found this place, I was like, this is it. Like, this is like my dream. And 9 months or 8 months after I moved in, we had construction. HOA put it under construction. And since April 2023 through August of this year, it has been covered in tarp and scaffolding because they had to redo a bunch of stuff. And it just sucked because I was like, this is my dream place. Like, I don't want to leave. San Francisco's so expensive. Everything got more expensive, everything. And so I just stuck it out, and they finally took the tarps down yesterday. I cannot tell you, I don't think that I realized how badly it was affecting my mental health until they took it down, because we couldn't really see like past the tarps. Like there were these bluish green tarps covering it up. There were scaffolding. Sometimes randomly a guy would just walk past my like upstairs, bedroom window, like here in my office. And it's just weird. It's just like, you can't see a view. You have no natural light really. The natural light that does come in is tinged with blue. You don't really have privacy. It just sucked. And so I surrendered, honestly. At a certain point, I started looking at places close to my daughter's school, like last year. And then I was just like, this is wild. This market is wild. So I just decided to stay. And like yesterday and today, I'm just like, no wonder this was hard. Like I really had to sit and just like give myself credit for like how hard it has been, and like why I don't want to be home. A lot of the times I'm like anxious. Sometimes I want nothing more than sunlight on my face. And we had this beautiful balcony that was just covered up. And with ADHD and anxiety and like all the different things, for me, regulating myself is being able to look outside the window, close my eyes, hear the birds, hear the traffic of the cars, look at the trees, have natural sunlight. So anyways, it's gone now. I'm sitting in my office and I am looking at Market Street in San Francisco. I can see the Ferry Building. I can see the Salesforce Building. I can see all of San Francisco. I can see the parrots of Telegraph Hill flying around. Like they actually fly past my window. You hear them squawking. I can hear the sound of a nearby school where the kids are playing. I can see the flag in the Castro district. It's just like the ocean, everything. I'm just like so happy. And it was worth the wait. But damn, it was really hard for me. And like, it was part of the reason I just didn't want to be home because like, I just had so much anxiety and it brought me back to like my pandemic days. And the only way that I dealt in the pandemic days was when we lived in Portland during the pandemic was I had a little balcony and we had a little view of the water and of the mountains. And I would just go out there and close my eyes and I'd look at the water and I would just hear the sounds. And so without that, that was just really hard. So I feel like this week, between Adriana getting the clear to go back to school, the scaffolding coming down, I just feel like a new person. Like I felt like trash, honestly. Like recently, there's just been days where I'm just like, what the heck am I doing? Like, I just feel like I lost myself. And it's very easy to do that, I think, in parenthood, period. But I think it's also very easy to lose yourself in business and lose your identity. And I just think it feels like I'm back, but a different version of me, right? So speaking of, I'm back and versions of me. In this episode today, we're going to be talking about exactly that, which is versions of you and the importance of understanding this, especially as an entrepreneur, because of the fact that you are doing something that is very activating and challenging to any person, like the average person does not ask themselves to evolve at the pace that entrepreneurs do. I remember my coach said this at the beginning of the year, Stacey Bayman. She was like, what we do is not normal. She's like, it's not normal to have to take the risks that we do, the amount of decisions, the amount of like ups, downside that could come from anything that we do, the amount of visibility, potentially the amount of criticism or people that are upset with us, the stakes, that we sign ourselves up for, like all of this is not normal. Most humans do not sign themselves up for this. And this is why entrepreneurship can feel so lonely, because even if you have best friends in your life who have known you your whole life, this is a world that they will not understand. They will not fully unless they're doing it. It is something that, this is why it's so important to have folks who do understand this, or it's going to feel very like lonely. And part of working with yourself is understanding that different parts of you are going to show up to the table, right? When you're doing something scary, there's going to be the scared part of you. There's going to be the part of you who wants to do it. Like whenever you feel like, ooh, there's a part of me that's doing this, or you feel like there's almost like an internal battle, this is parts. Now, if you are in therapy, as you probably should be if you're an entrepreneur, you may have done parts work in therapy. Now, I'm not a therapist, right? However, I've had to go through a lot of therapy just for life and to be able to do what I've done. But the way that I want to talk about it today is it's going to be a little bit less of a teaching episode and more of like a coaching episode where I'm going to walk you through the way that I get myself on board to do things that honestly, I was not conditioned to do. In a way, things that I have no business doing. Like I have no business, meaning like nothing about the way that I was conditioned set me up to do this, to have a business that's brought in just under $1 million, to live where I live, to have the life that I have, to be a single parent who is happy and grounded and isn't super pissed at my ex and talking crap about him. Like there's so many things that like could have gone left, right? And I left, but it's because I have developed a relationship with the different parts of me that show up to any particular circumstance. And rather than trying to shut them up, shut them out, ostracize them, kick them out, hate them, be annoyed by them, whatever. I mean, sometimes I'm annoyed by them. This is actually how you get yourself to do things that scare you and activate you, right? So what I call it is your internal boardroom. And maybe this term just comes from me being a corporate girly and the fact that like sometimes you run meetings and there's people in the room and everybody has their little agenda, right? If you've watched the movie Inside Out, it's kind of like that, except Inside Out, there's different emotions. And as you learn from watching the movie, every emotion has a place. Like it isn't about one running the show. And whenever one like runs the show all the time, like you're just not a human being, right? But I always envision it like an internal boardroom where those parts are invited to every meeting. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is how to get yourself on board with doing difficult things that feel challenging without like compartmentalizing, without bypassing yourself, without trying to like shut parts of you away. So here is how I'm going to walk through this. Okay. We're going to consider this a coaching session. If you're doing something difficult, remember the time in this episode, re-listen to this, come back to this part of the episode. Okay. So we're thinking about a thing that we're going to do. We're thinking about a thing that's happening right now in business that feels really hard. And you just think, gosh, if I could just get out of my own way, if I just wasn't scared or I wasn't in my head, like there's what I want to do, and then there is how I feel, then there is how I think about myself. Then there is all the things my brain is screaming at me about. So this is normal. This is literally day in the life of being an entrepreneur. So the way that I think about it is anything you are doing at any given point, all those parts are present. So I like to think about it like, let's say you're about to run a workshop, or you just got invited to speak somewhere, or whatever. You're doing this thing that requires visibility. This happens a lot with my clients because a lot of what we do is pitching, corporate contracts, visibility, all those things, right? So there's the circumstance. The circumstance is what's on the agenda, right? So you can imagine a table, different parts of you around this table. We're going to give them names and you're going to figure out what yours are. And I'm going to tell you what mine are. So there's a table, everybody's sitting around it. Everybody's in this meeting room. The agenda is the circumstance. So let's say this just came up in my mastermind, Hispanic Heritage Month, speaking engagement. That's it, right? So then you've got these parts who show up to the meeting. Now, the thing about this is every part is invited to every meeting, but they don't always show up. If they think it's irrelevant to them, they're like, that doesn't activate me. That doesn't interest me. They may not even show up, or they might show up, but they'll just be quiet, right? So the more activated they are by the agenda item, the more they're like, oh, I'm going to show up to that meeting. I have something to say. I have a job to do. Let me make sure I do my job. So the more that part is activated by that circumstance, AKA what is on the agenda, the louder they are going to be. And they are just doing their job. So here are the parts that are for sure, definitely within you. And I'll walk you through mine because you have these as well, but they just will be called different things and you may have others, right? So bear with me here. It's all going to make sense. There typically is the person running the meeting, depending on where you are in your journey. The person running the meeting is typically the one that you've given the microphone to the most in your life. Usually this isn't your authentic, like inner child, right? Like this isn't that, because most of us have gone through some stuff, right? Your inner child's probably not running the meeting. So there's inner child. There is your higher self. I'd say those are the two opposite spectrums, right? There's like your inner child. Well, in a way, there's like your inner child could also be your higher self, to be honest, but higher self is more wise. So you have your inner child, you have your higher self. Your higher self knows, she is wise, she is calm, she is all knowing, she is love, she ain't tripping. We're really working so she could run the meetings. But probably what's happened is higher self has not been running the meetings in your life. Who has been running the meetings is your role self. It's who you had to become to get by, to not be hurt, to get shit done, to get through hard stuff, who people told you needed to be, who you thought you needed to be. That's your role self. For me, my role self is what she says to me is, you need to work hard and you need to get your shit together. When I imagine my role self, she is always holding a clipboard. She's holding a clipboard. I call her Clipboard Mariella. She is the achiever. She is the person that you become as a result of pain that you experienced as a child, right? So there's your inner child. There's how that inner child got hurt. Then there is who you become as a result. So for you, this may not be like, hey, get shit done, holding a clipboard. If you're a high achiever, that's definitely you. But for some of you, you may have like blended into the background, minimized your needs, gotten quiet, been quiet, resentful. Maybe this is like a silent, resentful people pleaser, right? Like maybe that's who you became. Your role self is who you became as a result of the pain. So my person that has been running the meetings my whole life is Clipboard. Clipboard is like, all right, everybody, this is what we're doing. Everybody needs to be doing their jobs. What can go wrong? You need to do your job. You need to do your job. We need to work hard. What are you doing? Why aren't you already working? Like, that's basically kind of how she is, right? Like, and the thing is that my role self especially if you're a high achiever, I love that bitch. Like, she got me through a lot of hard shit, right? Like, she was the person who took over when I knew that I was getting a divorce and it was like a horrible time and I found out stuff and I don't even know how I functioned. And I went into work and I was kind of laughing and I was like, yep, so this is happening. And it was like the sarcastic version of me. Granted, we don't want to live there, but that bitch got me through some stuff, right? Like, she's just like snatched me by the hand and she's like, come on, we're not going to sit here and sulk. We're going to get stuff done. Like, you're going to be okay. Come on. That's my role self. I love that bitch. I love her. However, what happens is in running a business, she's the one that will burn me out. She's the one who will present possible stuff that could go wrong. She's the one who is always screaming at me, right? So she can't be running my business though. She can't be the one always running my business. So that's what happens is we have this meeting. The person that you have given the microphone to the most snatches it typically and will run that meeting. So that's your role self. Then there's inner child. So my inner child, she got hurt, right? And what she thinks, and she's at the meetings too, what she says is no matter what I do, it will never be good enough. And her job at this meeting is to stop me from getting hurt again. It's her job to look for, are you doing something where you could not be good enough? Are you doing something that might replicate that pain? And bitch, everything is the answer is yes. When you're having a business, yes, bitch, everything could be something that you could get hurt doing. So of course my inner child's like, but what if people don't like us? But what if it's not good enough? But what if somebody criticizes us? We don't want to be hurt. Why don't we just try? Or why don't we just, of course, she's going to be at this meeting and she's just going to be like, are we going to be hurt again? Are we going to be hurt again? Remember the last time? This feels like the last time. This feels like all the other times that we tried so hard. So then what happens is role self wants to shut her down because she's like, girl, we don't have time for this. We don't have time for this. So whose job it is to calm her down is feeding your higher self. This is therapy, mindset coaching, journaling, taking care of your body. All these things fuel higher self because otherwise role self is going to shut her down and be like, we don't have time for this. Snaps, stop it. We don't have time. But higher self comes through and she gets down to eye level and she looks at inner child and she's like, I understand. That is scary. I know that it feels very much like we could be rejected and we could be hurt. I know that you have gone through hard things. This is not the same situation. You have support. You are doing a really hard thing, right? So this is how you see us, they start talking to each other. This is why if you are in entrepreneurship and you're just doing strategy and you're scared naturally and you're not getting some sort of therapy or mindset coaching, even like from your business coach and just doing these things, ideally, this is why we also have therapy, nervous system regulation, nervous system coaching, somatic coaching, all those things, right? The reason this is important is because you need to know how to pass the mic when you have a business in life in general, but especially when you have a business, because if one part snatches it up, it's not going to work, right? So to continue on, that's what happens. Your inner child is essentially saying, what's the thing that I'm scared of happening and could it happen again? Entrepreneurship presents so many things. Then there's the role self who snatches the microphone. And then there's the higher self who we learn to give more airtime to. This is so much of inner work and confidence and groundedness. And like, if you could be your higher self all the time, you would be unstoppable, right? But we're humans. So that's 3 parts. Inner child, your role self, minus clipboard, right? Yours may be someone else. And then there is your higher self. I also have another one that I call the publicist. So the publicist is at the meeting. The publicist came from abandonment, deep abandonment, and deep, harsh criticism, right? What the publicist says is, we can't be out here looking dumb. I have a strong ass publicist. She is scanning the room. She's like, we can't be looking dumb. What's going on? What might happen, right? So her job is to be concerned with my image and possible bad press. And bad press could just be essentially how things look. And she will be the one who might self-sabotage because she's just like, no, we can't be looking dumb. Let's not do that. We could fail at that. Or, oh, let's just end this because they're probably not good. That also could be the person who shows up in dating who wants to cut people off, the person who shows up in friendships who wants to cut people off, the person who wants to end client contracts early because you're like, no, this isn't gonna. So the publicist, this is for me. She is like, we can't be out here looking dumb. So imagine them all at the meeting. Now what happens is it can get very loud. This is what happens when you're just like, oh my God, my brain is so loud. There's all these different parts and they're fighting at the meeting. What our jobs really are as entrepreneurs is to feel like what messages feel like they are rooted in fear. And then if it's rooted in fear, that's your inner child. That's your role self. That's the publicist. Then there is a voice that is inexplicably, strangely calm. So sometimes what my clients will say is, I feel like I'm crazy. I feel like I should be more scared. I feel like I should be more nervous, but I'm going to do this thing. That's typically the higher self. The higher self is like, hey, we got this. Chill out. We're good. No matter what happens, we're not going to die. We're all right. We've done harder things. We're not that person that got hurt back then. I've got you. Our worth isn't tied up in these things. I've got us. When you can start to listen to what the different voices feel like in your body, you will naturally practice handing the mic over to higher self more often. Now, in order to do something that you were not designed to do, which is for many of us entrepreneurship, because that requires so much safety. It requires so much safety. That is what we do in practicing giving the mic to our higher self. So what will happen, and this is how it looks for me, is that I will have seasons where I am very anxious. I'm in my head. I feel like I lost it. I lost the thing that I have. I have a hard time taking action. And really that's just because at those meetings, let's say it's me planning for a launch or it's me, I don't know, whatever this is, selling something, whatever, dealing with something. It's that the parts are screaming at each other and they can't agree because inner child doesn't want to be hurt again. She doesn't want to be like hurt. The publicist doesn't want to look dumb, and role self doesn't want to not be the best. She wants to win at everything. And so it'll feel like that for a while. What I have to do in those seasons is anchor back into the things that help my body feel calm, because it's very hard to hear your higher self when you're in your head. So this is where mindfulness, activities, things that calm you are so important. It isn't just a thing of like, oh, I just deserve it and I feel good. It is literally clearing up a fuzzy radio station in your brain, because that is what it feels like when the parts are fighting. So things that clear up that fuzzy radio station in your brain where you're hearing all the stations at once, that's really what it is. And you're trying to tune in to the higher self and what does she have to say or what do they have to say, depending on your pronouns, is things like, for me, things that help me access her is going to the gym, getting enough sleep, making sure that I actually eat something in the morning, not just drinking coffee, seeing my somatic therapist, having friends who pour into me, right? Having a mindfulness practice. For some of you, this might be journaling. It could be self-coaching. It could be going for a walk, getting sun on your face. Those things are actually more important than strategy, because if the person writing the strategy is one of these parts, you're going to be in trouble. You're either going to add a bunch of shit to your list that doesn't need to be there, or it's going to come from a preventative energy of being good enough or trying to avoid failure, or you're going to just go back and forth in your head about it. It is so important for you to learn how to cultivate a relationship with yourself when you're an entrepreneur. This is why when I coach my clients, my number one job is to help you cultivate a relationship with yourself as a leader, with your own wisdom, with your own identities, with your body, with the signals that your body is giving you, with looking all around at your life and being like, what's going on in your life? Is it really about this thing, about the speaking engagement or whatever that you're scared of? Or has your mind been preoccupied with, what's happening with your son at school? Like we really have to look at what are the parts saying? Like, what are the different parts saying? Why are they arguing? Who's talking? What are they worried about? Right? And what are the activities, the support activities that help you pass the mic to your higher self? So what I will see sometimes is that if you are in a program that is very like consultative, so essentially there's a here's the steps, this is how you do it, blah, 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 blah. We're great at that. We will be like, hey, I'll follow the steps, I'll follow the framework, da, 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 da. If you're somewhere and that's how it is, they have a very clear framework, you're following the steps, but you're still internally like, I'm not sure I'm on board, I'm not freaking out. That's because the answer is not strategy. The answer is the parts are fighting. What are the things you need? Mindset coaching, therapy, walk, gym, time with friends, journaling, whatever those things are for you that helps you clear up that fuzzy radio station in your brain so that you can hear the voice that feels calm in your body. That's the thing. Higher self's not tripping. She's not anxious. She's just full of love. She knows. Sometimes she can't explain why she knows. So we will sometimes doubt that because we let the other part snatch the microphone. So I think about how every time I made a scary decision that was a departure from what I would normally do, that was higher self. When I decided to say no to a $250K job offer back in 2018, that was higher self. Because I was like, this is fucking crazy. But she was just like, it's all right. We're going to figure it out. These job opportunities aren't going nowhere. You know you want to do something different. You know that you want to spend more time with your daughter. When I think about hiring my first coach or joining my first program that I paid $2,000 for, that was also higher self because I was like, this doesn't make any sense. But I just don't know. But I just feel like it's going to work out. I'm going to go ahead and do it. This is the same one who quit her job to travel and like find myself. Like all these things that you're like, it seems crazy. It seems crazy, but she's talking to you. This happened also with someone in my mastermind who quit her job this year. She was very, very like climbed up to the top to VP level and was traveling. She had planned a trip to travel. And we were sitting with the parts that came up around this seems insane. I feel like I just went full-time in my business. It feels insane that I would go away on a trip for weeks at a time that I've just gone full-time in my business. And we really had to sit with the parts, right? And I was like, okay, what is it? Like, why are you going? It's like, I just feel like I have to. Like, I always told myself that I was going to do this. And I just feel like no matter what happens in my business, like, I feel like I'm going to be okay. And I was like, okay. And if you didn't go, like, would you regret it? And it's like, yes. Okay. So what we realized is like, sometimes you second guess an intuitive decision. A higher self decision is an intuitive decision. You second guess it because it doesn't feel logical, because it doesn't match what you've done previously. And so what I told her is higher self's giving you guidance. And until you listen to that guidance, there's not going to be more guidance. Like you have to just listen to the guidance to just do the next step. And then there will be more. And we're just signing up for that experience. Like it's going to seem crazy, but the more you lean into that as an entrepreneur, the more that voice is crystal clear and she'll come in and you'll know who's speaking. And you actually can't grow business without her because this is actually crazy considering logic and considering practicality and safety, especially if you're a daughter of immigrants, right? So cultivating a relationship with this wise, you can say this is in your inner leadership. This is self-trust. This is your higher self. Like it's all the same, right? It's just the wisest, all-knowing leader inside of you, right? And she went and she decided to go. And I was like, this part is telling you, hi, we need to go. I'm trying to talk to you. That's sometimes what's happening with your higher self is she's trying to talk to you and you're not listening to her. You're listening to all the peanut gallery in the room, in the boardroom. You're listening to the peanut gallery and the higher self's like, excuse me, I'm still trying to talk to you. So she's nudging you. Sometimes what happens with higher self is stuff starts to fall apart. You say you want the thing and then stuff starts to fall apart. Clients start to leave. Your launch flops. Somebody gets mad at you, or you get offered a job and then you have to sit and be like, wait, do I really want it? So sometimes you talk to higher self and stuff starts to happen, but you're not really listening to her. And then circumstances start to happen to make it so that you have to listen to her. So what I would ask you to do is think about something that feels really hard and activating in your life right now. And think about the predominant voices that come to the table to have something to say about that situation. They will typically fall into one of those categories, right? There's something that feels like, inner child. It feels like something a little kid would say, right? Like, are they going to like us? What if they don't like us? Like that voice, if it sounds like it's something a kid would say, that's probably inner child. Then there's the part that you adapted to be, that has probably been running most of your life. And that person has had your back. To be honest, it did whatever it had to do. There's that. That's number 2. That's the role self. There may be, in some cases, other parts. Like I said, my other part is a publicist. This publicist is very concerned with how things look. She's still there. I don't kick anybody out of the meeting. Everybody has a place in the meeting. My job is higher self. It's my job to make sure higher self is the leader, that she's running the meeting, that she's making sure, hey, you're trying to do a job, but I got it. Thank you so much. You know what you could do for me instead is this. Thank you, sweetheart. You are so helpful. Thank you so much. I've got this. Or you know what? You could sit this one out. I got this. I know that this is really scary. I know that you're trying to help. Thank you. Thank you so much. I've got this from here. I will report back. What do you need from me in order to feel safe for me to take over? What do you need to feel safe for me to take over? That's higher self. She's just got it. She's like, thank you, sweetie, so much. I've got it. Thank you. Thank you. That's higher self. That's how my higher self talks to everybody. And that's your job as an entrepreneur. What activities, what people, what coaching, what helps you talk to her? That is where you do insane, amazing shit that you're just like, how did I possibly do this? Like when I think about my launch at the end of last year for Reclamation, it was crazy some of the things I was doing. I was like, I had no business. I had no business trusting myself that much. I threw so much money. I had just finished a rebrand that was like, including the photo shoot, it was probably like $25,000. My reserves were rapidly dipping because I stopped selling one-on-one. I decided to have a live event in Mexico City. I don't know who was going to sign up. Maybe 3 people were going to join Reclamation. It was going to be me and 3 people chilling in Mexico. But you know what? I was like, I am willing to figure it out. I'm willing to just be up there with my 3 people. I was already proud of myself. I took so many risks. And the whole time I was like, I'm strangely calm. I'm strangely calm. There's no way that I'm going to miss an actual sign of danger because I'm way too hypervigilant to miss an actual sign of danger. I just trust myself. And then 17 people joined. So it's just like, there's so many moments like this where you feel like I have no business trusting myself this much, but like I feel strangely calm. That's higher self. So that's it, y'all. If you could take something away, write down the parts that you notice coming up, like I said, that have something to say as you go and you do scary things, and notice which ones are talking. Notice how they feel in your body, the anxiety, the tightness, the loudness, the talking over each other, all the things. They're just trying to do a job. Welcome them. Thank them. I know you're just trying to do a job. And then I want you to feel into what that calm inner knowing feels like in your body. As an entrepreneur, that is a literal skill set. That is the person that is going to make your dreams come true. You may need role self. Role self's there. Sometimes you could be like, hey, role self, it's okay right now. You know, like you're welcome in the meeting. Like we can work together. We can partner together, but we're not going to beat ourselves up. Right. So that's it. That's what's changed my life. And this is part of how I coach my clients. And sometimes they'll be like, oh, spreadsheet girly showing up to the meeting. And I'm like, spreadsheet girl is just doing her job. You know, what do you have to say to her? So sometimes you just have to work with these parts, right? Name them, love them, understand why they're there, have compassion for them. And this is how we, especially as daughters of immigrants, create more capacity to hold more money, shepherd more income, hold more clients, take bigger risks, have more visibility. That is how we do it. And with that being said, if this episode spoke to you and you were like, I know that my breakthrough, I know that my next level is like behind this, I am your coach. This is literally what I've done. And I would love to work with you one-on-one. I have just opened up expanded ways of working with me, from Telegram coaching with monthly calls. We can work together with biweekly calls, 3 months, 6 months. It's really depending on, are you the type of person who is like, hey, just give me a couple calls and I just need time to go implement? Or are you like, I'm a verbal processor. I want to be with you to be with me every step of the way. No matter what, I got you. So for now, if this is something that you're thinking about, I want you to go to my website, marielladelamora.com. I want you to go to the private coaching link, check out my client stories. I've worked with all different clients, from day one, folks who don't have a business yet, that I've walked with all the way through to where they have quit their jobs, right? And travel the world, all the way to leadership coaching for folks who already have the multiple 6-figure business or the 7-figure business, but they work with me because they want to strengthen their self-trust, their leadership, their access to themselves, and just feel more at ease and more at peace in their business. Other folks work with me because they have a message, but they know that it's the point in their business where now they want to get clear on their thought leadership and what they want to be known for. They want to land more speaking engagements. They want to work with companies. They really want to be known for something that's really deep in their heart, and they need help clarifying what that is and really being known as a thought leader in their field. And some are doing all right running their business, but like they're not being seen in their life or as a daughter of immigrants. So I also have folks who come to me and it's like 70% life and 30% business. And I'm just working with you through a difficult chapter of your life. Maybe it's something's about to change. You're pivoting. Sometimes folks are getting ready to have a baby, or they just had a baby, or they just went through a divorce, or they went through a death in the family, or they went through a relocation, or they just quit their job. And now they're like, it's this identity shift. Like, I am that coach that you want to work with when you are going through difficult situations in your life, because frankly, number one, I've been through so many of them. And as my friends reflected back to me last week, my gift is helping people feel safe in order for them to do the things that they need to do and to understand themselves more deeply than they've ever understood themselves before. And so whatever that is, I've got you. Reach out, DM me if you have questions, and I cannot wait to hear from you. I'd love for you to be my private client. All right, y'all. I'll see you next week.